Okay, good afternoon. We are starting with the commercial category. The category description is the commercial category recognises photographs that are intended for use in business marketing, advertising, editorial or magazine work. This may include advertising, architecture, corporate, food, industrial, fashion and sports photography. Now we're just going to have the run through now. Don't you press the end button? Press the end button for it to run. Yep. Yep. Sorry, I thought you guys knew that. Okay, so we're about to start the commercial category. Can we please have for judging?
Exclusions, please.
Okay.
Have you got the judges' commercial list?
It's not here. Sorry, can we please have Paul Daly, Amber Griffin, Craig Bullock Turner, Richard Wood, and Dan McGrath. Who's this? She can't be on the first image. Sorry. Thank you. First print, please. Do you want to swap? Okay, judges, sorry about that. You can score now. Thank you. Okay, so we've got an initial score of 78, which is a bronze. Mandarin, would you like to challenge? Yes. Yeah.
Sure. I think I gave this, I was in the silver category for this image. I think it is a beautifully presented image. We've got strong technical skills in the printing. We've got beautiful blacks, tonal range. I'm very impressed by the positioning of the hands in the models and the expression. So I'd love to have a little bit more conversation on this.
Okay, Paul D. The other end of the scale.
Am I at the other end of the scale? Not my exact area of expertise, photographing ladies, but I appreciated it for, well done or well photographed, and everybody well posed, etc. I probably don't have much to add, actually. Sorry.
Yeah, Richard.
Really, really well crafted portrait series. Beautiful black and white tones. Everything's handled very, very well. I like how the image has been broken up by the posture with the hands in the centre there, and also the woman on the left. I like how sorry, what I'm saying is it breaks up the image. Same with the strap of the dress that comes down on the right hand side. I think for me, for silver, I'm looking for something that's, addition to those things, is a little bit more innovative or creative, or bring something else that's a bit more original and new to the panel.
Thank you. What did you score, Richard?
78 on the average.
Has anybody else got anything to add? So Mandarin, you can sum up. Thank you.
Thanks for all the comments, and very appreciated. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from for wanting something new and innovative. I'm giving this a silver because I'm really commending the photographer on not only their technical ability, but they've been able to very successfully not only pose the models, but also evoke some emotion out of their eyes. They're looking quite intense. They're looking quite alluring. It's a very seductive image, and they all, in a way, play off each other. So it's actually quite intriguing as you look at it longer, and I do believe that it's worth a silver.
Okay, so judges, please rescore. And we've come up to a 79 bronze award. Thank you. Okay, next print, please. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it said that. Okay, so we've got 79, so that's either a bronze or silver. We've got a review. It'll just take a minute to let you in. Okay. So everybody puts in a 79 or an 80, please. And it's an 80 silver award. Thank you. Next print, please. Oh, got it. So we've got an initial score of 79 bronze. We do have an elective challenge for Craig, if you'd like to take it.
We need to rescore it anyway, so I will.
Yeah.
I scored this 82. I thought that the treatment of this was really interesting. The printing is really lovely, and in those reds are so rich in that bottom section. I quite like the fact that the image is almost divided into 3 pieces as well, almost like a triptych. So you've got that grey, that no smoking sign, and then the rest of the image below. So I thought that there was a really interesting little bit of storytelling and vision in this for something that is an inanimate object.
Okay, and Dan at the other end of the scale.
This is part of a ship, I believe. And when I look at it, I don't see any detail in the underneath the middle section, if you like. There's a lack of detail on it. I would like to see that sparkling and becoming brighter if I'm going to give it any more points. I see what you're saying, Craig, about the 3 levels. It breaks it up and makes it interesting, but there's definitely a lack of detail and quality in the very centre of the picture for my mind.
Would you look? Paul?
Yeah, probably the thing that I did, what did I go? 78. And the thing that just held me back was just the muddiness in that lower section with the vignette. And if that wasn't so muddy, then I would have probably gone to silver without any problems.
Okay, anybody else have anything to add? So Craig, would you like to sum up?
Yep, I don't mind that muddiness. I actually find that gives the image a bit more dimension. And in that middle section, I do see the railings, I do see a little sign in there. So there is definitely some stuff in that middle bit where there's that darkness. Yeah, we need to make a decision either way. It's going to go to review, so let's decide that it's a silver now.
Okay, would judges rescore, please? And it's gone to 80, a silver. Thank you. Next print, please. Sorry, we've got a 79 bronze. We do have an elective challenge from Dan.
Thank you. This image has a great structure, a geometric structure which pulls my eye into the model, and the model has got a lot of strength in there. And I feel the way the hair softens it at the top is really beautiful. It's a passive picture, but to me it's become much more active because of everything that's happening in the top part of the picture, and the structure gives it a base.
Okay, and Mandarin, Richard or Paul, you're all at the other end. Paul?
Yeah, I'll go first. I do like the graphic nature of the image, but the thing that pulled me back straight away was the hair, and 1 minute it's sharp, next minute it's soft, and there's it's just in and out. So I'm not sure what the image is used for, it doesn't really matter, but that was distracting to me.
Yes, Craig.
I'm up at 82 as well, definitely deserving of a silver. This is dark and ominous, and there's the shadows are what make this the most interesting. I think it's like some kind of monster, it's alien-like. The posing also reflects that kind of alien-like monster kind of feel. And I thought that was a really nice piece of communication. So I scored at 82.
Thank you. Anyone else like to add anything else? Yep.
I actually scored at 77 for the reasons that Craig scored it really well. There's so much to love about this image, the tonality in the background, the shadow, it's all quite intriguing. Where it lacked for me in slightly was the hair. As Paul said, it looked a little bit too messy. There was too little depth of field, or it didn't seem like there was intent in the lack of depth of field, but also those shadows of the hair going over the jawline, I felt were quite sinister, and that brought the score down for me. But I'm listening to you guys.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, there's some interesting contrasts between the warmer tones in the skin and the colder tones around that sea outside of the image, and it's some beautiful shadow play or light play. But I too was distracted by the one point in the hair. You've got that really gritty, sharpness and clarity, and then it turns very soft in places, which my eye kept going back to that. But the other thing for me is from the face, I'm drawing down that arm in the foreground, which is in some ways foreshortened or distorted, and it leads me into a very, very dark claw, and I'm struggling to distinguish what those fingers are doing, and the reason I have a slight issue with it is because it leads me to that spot, and then into the face, which is the shadow, and I'm feeling that hand is somewhat unresolved, but some great play with light, and very dynamic. I was sitting on 77 as a bronze.
Craig, did you look at me because you had something else to say, or no? Dan, would you like to sum up, please?
Well, what you've just described, all of you, is the female Medusa here, and the movement and feeling around the face is all to do with the hair and the movement of the body. And it's a beautiful picture. I wish you come up and make it into a silver.
Okay, so judges, please rescore. It hasn't come through. Dan, are you able to put your score in? Sorry, it's not coming through, but you shouldn't be able to. Oh, cool, thank you. So that's an 81 silver. Thank you. And we'll have the next print, please. This is the panel, so we can bring. Okay, we have an initial score of 78 bronze. Dan, you do have an elective challenge if you'd like to take it. Okay, so we'll accept that. 78. Dan, would you like to speak about the print? Thank you.
It's not an original idea, but it's beautifully executed. Very clean, very clear, and the one thing that held me back with the picture was the images of the faces were just too sort of static for a moving picture. Thank you.
Okay, so that's a bronze award. Thank you. Next print, please. Wait, can we have a blank screen, please? We'll swap out a judge, please. So thank you, Dan, for stepping in for us, and we'll call Furor. Yeah. Oh, just before we get the next print, Mandarin, am I saying your name right, or is it? Yep, Mandarin. And Furor, is that right? Furor. Cool. Okay, next print, please. We have an initial score of 88, silver distinction, but we have an elective challenge from Mandarin.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about this image. I scored it in the gold range, 90. This image is the Leonardo da Vinci of ballet. Look at the hands. That's the Sistine Chapel. Everything about this image is absolutely exquisite. The lighting, the ephemeral vision of the dancers' faces. They're off in their own world, but even though they are in their own individual world, they all come together in this beautiful cacophony of posing that really compositionally works so beautifully. So I genuinely feel that it's worthy of a gold, and I'd love to hear from the others.
Paul, would you like to go other end of the scale?
Yeah, I think I might have totally missed the mark here and not seen the story. But the thing that is unresolved for me is it appears that they've been dropped into the background, and the shadows around the base of the person on the left doesn't seem real, and I just didn't feel that the drop into the background was right. But I'm listening because I'm so far off the mark that I may have totally misinterpreted it. Sorry, I was on 73.
Okay, so would Craig, Richard and Furor are all pretty even, so would any of you like to speak? Richard?
I scored this on the average of 88. And you can't fault the image. And there is so much beauty in the image. There is a lot of storytelling in the image if you've got the time to sit with it, which we now have. I see the central figure as a swan. There's three characters there telling their own story. The lighting's exquisite, the colours, the tones, everything's been handled very masterfully. The shadows sit with me fine. They've been lit very high from above, possibly multi-directional. Those diffuse shadows that sit underneath the two standing characters work for me, and then the harder shadow under the gentleman who's on the ground, because he's close to the ground, there's going to be a harder light there. Sorry, a harder fall off. The treatment, the back of her skirt, how it reflects the rib cage, those shapes through there, and then through her hair as well, and the longer and the fist of the man on the ground, and how that reflects through his biceps and shoulder muscles, and there's a lot to take in, and I'm glad we got to sit for it for a while, so I'm going to come up into gold.
Okay, has anybody else got anything else to say before we sum up? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mandarin, to challenge this image. I think I'm definitely coming to gold because, as Richard said, as long as you look at this beautiful image, you find more about the narrative. I want to add there is a triangular composition here, and it's added to the narrative of the image. For me, is like a modern look of Romeo and Juliet, and this third person at the background, which has a black dress, which is totally different from the other two subjects. It's like kind of between them. It's like a separation, someone that separate these two subjects from each other, someone that divided their love from each other. So there are lots of interpretation you can add to this image, and because of all the beautiful lighting, composition, color palette, and great choice of paper, definitely have come up.
Okay. Any other comments? Mandarin, would you like to sum up, please?
Thank you. I'm so glad we got to talk about this. I'd like to address 2 points. One, I might have to show you. It's a bit hard to describe it, but besides what Faru said about the triangular composition, maybe it's my weird creative brain, but I can see a Fibonacci circle as well. And that's from the shapes that are created by the arms, the man on the floor in the front, through to the girl, and then to the man at the back. So your eye is led around the image, but it always lands where it's supposed to. Every part of this image has an important part. And in reference to the shadows underneath the figures, I'm really glad you brought that up, Paul. I'm really into technique, detail in shadows, which this has, and also shadows under figures. It's so hard at times to make sure when you're compositing that the shadows under a figure are correct. And I agree that there are elements of this that make it look perhaps incorrect. However, I genuinely think that this adds to the image because it's like a fairy tale. So is it supposed to be dead accurate? Maybe not. I think the whole mood of this is like something out of a fairy tale book. So I don't think, for me at least, that is a problem, having shadows like that. So I really implore everyone to think about coming up into the gold range.
Okay, judges, please rescore. And we have a 91, which is gold. Thank you very much. Can I have a blank screen, please? We've just got a judge change. Amber, could you come on for Paul Daly? Please, thank you very much. And next print, please. we've got an initial score of 75, which is a bronze. And we will accept that. Amber, would you like to speak to the print, please?
I think this is a very successful commercial image, perhaps advertising for kiwi fruit workers to come to pick kiwi fruit. I think a couple of things that could have improved the image are just there's a dead leaf and a couple of things that could have just been tidied up in a category like this. But well done to the photographer.
Thank you. Next print, please. So we have an initial score 79 for bronze. Now Craig and Furo, you're both on silver. Would one of you like to challenge? Probably Furo.
Yes, I would love to challenge. It's really a striking image. The graphic nature of the geometric nature of the image is really strong. It's the color palette, the choice of paper is superior, and I gave it 83, and I believe that this image sits in silver. But I would love to hear from my judges as well, fellow judges.
Yep, so the rest of you who would like to speak? You're all similar. Yep, Richard.
I gave it a 78, but I'll easily be convinced to bring it up another 2 points because what I enjoyed about it is the interplay between those diagonal zebra stripes, whether it be through the cage, the bars on the cage, whether it be the deep black diagonal stripes through the image or the black and yellow stripes through the objects as well. They all kind of mirror each other, and it is a very clever capture. So I'm definitely happy to come up another couple of points to silver.
Does anyone else have anything different to say? So Furo, would you like to?
Thank you, Richard. Yes, composition, even the shadow at the background, it's just add to the composition of the image. The number at the bottom, it's like cleverly capture something that would be very boring or normal in a daily job of photographer, but the photographer delivered it in a very creative, intelligent way. And I definitely believe that it should sit in silver.
Okay, so judges, please rescore.
I should rescore myself.
Yes, please. It seems to be having a little bit of a glitch. And we have 81 silver. Thank you. Next print, please. We have an initial score of 79, bronze award. We have 2 elective challenges. Mandarine, would you like to challenge that?
Yeah, I scored it 82 in the silver. I think this is a beautifully constructed image. It's very interesting, intriguing, wandering around the frame and looking at all the little elements of this. So, technically I think it's really well executed, and it's one of those images, the more you look, the more you see. So I'd love to hear from the others.
And Craig and Furo, both at the other end. Craig?
Yeah, I scored this 78, and I believe it's the Christchurch Cathedral. Yep. It's very well composed, and I thought deserving of an award. What kept me from going into silver was just there's a little bit of convergence of the verticals at the top, and the highlights on the tiles at the top there as well just pull my eye up a little bit.
Richard?
I scored the 77 in the bronze range. Again, very interesting image, Mandarin. I agree with you. I especially like the way that the woodwork and this building has slowly been coloured in by nature with the spider webs and the pigeon poo. And but what did me pull slightly from that silver range was there are some foreground. It has been cropped so that there's some foreground elements there in the front that they're kind of pulling me in and they're not in focus. Everything is so detailed, and I just wish that that foreground could have been brought up a little bit so we weren't dealing with that softness in the front.
Amber, you're up in the silver as well. Did you want to say something? Okay. Mandarin, would you like to sum up?
These are fantastic comments and all noted. To address the converging parallels, it's well spotted. It's so minute. When I looked at the image, I actually initially thought that upper left window, it was more an architectural thing. Like my place at home is a little bit wonky walls. Rather than converging parallels. It is minute, but I take that on board because that's, when you're doing an image like this, you want to make sure everything's straight. With regards, Richard, to the lower foreground of the image being out of focus, that's actually why I didn't go higher on this image, because I do agree it is very distracting. And for the photographer, what I think would have improved this image is if you couldn't focus stack or couldn't shoot it in a way that made the foreground sharp, then perhaps a little bit of vignetting in the foreground to take the viewer's eye up into the image and away from that out of focus section would have definitely added to the composition. But having said that, I still think it's worth a silver.
Thank you. Please rescore. And we have an 80 silver award. Thank you. Can we please have a blank screen? And we'd like to swap out Christopher for Amber and Rebecca for Furo. Just for the audience and the people watching at home, judges have work entered, they mentor other people, and sometimes we just have exclusions. So it seems a bit messy swapping judges in and out, but we're just trying to work around those exclusions. Yeah, who's not in? Rebecca? Is Rebecca here? Okay, what about Steve? Thank you. Next print, please. We've got an initial score of 83, which is silver. We do have an elective challenge. Thank you, Steve.
I scored this 92. I felt like it is a wonderful commentary on the rainbow community, basically having to hide a facade behind their real identity. And I think it's masterfully shot and wonderfully graphic in nature. The poses of the shadows show the underlying person wanting to come out. The very intentional colour palette from red down to purple is, you know, your rainbow being spelled out pretty clearly.
And Richard or Mandarin at the other end of the scale?
Absolutely, very cool image, composition, colour palette. I understand the story, and it is like the alter ego of each of the individuals. I scored it in the high professional range, and what stopped me from going a little higher was all of the shadows are, you know, it's their outgoing persona as opposed to what you see, which is much more subdued, reserved expressions on their faces, except for the third image, the guy against the yellow. His expression is a little bit more exuberant than I would have expected, and in comparison to the others. So given that, I would have loved to have seen his shadow being even more over the top to match his expression.
Craig, did you want to?
Yeah, I can add to that. I think that third one, I feel that is still a kind of a reserved body language. Yes, you've got a cheeky kind of grin on the face, but the shoulders are hunched and in a little bit. So I feel that section of the image does flow really well. I scored it 88. What kept me from going higher was actually the last image, because it's the only shadow that is completely disconnected from their true, you know, their outward personas. But the more I look at it, the more I feel like that person's truly broken free of that identity, perhaps. And yeah, I might be tempted to come up, Steve.
Does anybody else have anything to say that's new? Steve, would you like to sum up? Thank you.
Sure. I think the photographer has intentionally tried to show how much we have to conform. Even our inside, you know, our external presentation has to be a certain way to be accepted. And we can't tell from the outside what people are trying to manage on the inside. But we know that people often feel controlled and confined in our society. And I think it's a really brave statement, and I think it's really well handled. I think excellent communication, and it's a gold for me.
Okay, so judges, please rescore. And we have an 88 silver distinction. Thank you. Can we have the next print, please? And we have an initial score of 80, silver. And we will accept that. Would someone like to say something about the print? Steve, Christopher, Craig, you're all up there on the silver.
Being involved in a boudoir studio, one of the hardest things to get into your photographers is detail in your blacks, because they like to see rich blacks, but this is perfect. The person here has managed to give you structure in the dress. Now, as a commercial photographer, this is more important than even the face. It's the dress structure, and you've done it very, very well. I would just be very careful about your retouching. You're just going that one stage too far. Skin texture needs to be there in a pleasant way.
Thank you. Next print, please. Rebecca? Sorry, Amber, could you just step on for this one, please? Here, sorry. I think we're okay, thank you. We have an initial score of 76, which is bronze, and we will accept that. And Craig, would you mind saying something to the print? Thank you.
Yeah, I think tonally this is done, printed really nicely. I really enjoy the depth that you've got from that foreground as well. I think just tightening up the gap between the two people would make the composition a little bit nicer, and perhaps a little bit more space above the top as well. That the guy on the left's head is very close to the top of the frame.
Thank you. Next print, please. So we've got an initial score of 80, which is silver, and we will accept that. Mandarine, would you like to make a comment for that photographer, please?
This is a beautifully composed image. It's sort of like that. You're just a number scenario. All these shipping containers with one little gap up the top, waiting for the next one. You've got perfect parallels, beautiful colour palette, well printed, and then that cookie of the flag. So really well done. And when you step back from the image, it actually looks very three-dimensional. So it's very well controlled in the printing.
Can we please have a blank screen, and we'll swap out Steve, thank you very much, and bring in Belinda Richards. She doesn't want to do this one. Esther Bunning, thank you. Esther, if you just stay under. Next print, please. We have an initial score of 76, which is bronze. Christopher, would you like to challenge that?
This appears to be like a...
Can we have your score, please?
My score is 80, so I've gone into the next category, silver. This appears to be the crew or a cast of, say, a theatre restaurant that specialises in the Titanic. But there's a comedic edge, which is quite strange for the Titanic, considering over 1,000 people perished. But it's obviously entertainment, and that's what I'm seeing in these photos, is the personality of all the characters here. The ship's captain's got to be almost a photo on its own with a false beard. But I found this quite entertaining, and having to do this sort of work, it's very hard to get normal people to give it to you on film, what they do on Saturday night to the audience. I think it's a success, and I gave it 80.
Craig, would you like to... Oh.
So I gave it a 72. I think it sits within professional practice, but I think to take it into an awards range for me, there are a few things that would need to be resolved. Some of the highlights on the captain's beard and the lady below are blown in the hair. The scale of some of them are slightly different, so they all are slightly at different scales, and the guy that's on the yellow background, that's the only one of that colour in this set, so some more consistency perhaps in the background, and then I would consider coming into an awards range, but I feel pretty comfortable where I am with this one.
Yes, sir? Yeah.
I gave this a 78, and to be honest, I think I was a little light on my score, and I'm going to come up into the silver range. Yes, they are headshots, but these have taken it into that characterisation, which has worked, as Christopher said, for the entertainment value, and I think that the photographer has done a really beautiful job of that. And if we're thinking about the commercial usage of something like this, then I think that he's absolutely fulfilled the brief.
Yes, Mandarin?
Just upon looking at it a little bit longer, I scored it 78, and now I'm looking at it longer. Besides a few technical issues that I was making me score lower, I've actually, one of those being that yellow background being so prominent. Upon re-looking at it, I'm wondering if the reason why it's prominent is because it's actually the story of the captain, you know, going, well, this is what happened. But is that guy in the yellow background, is that the mechanic going, well, you know, and that's why that's prominent. So with that, I'm definitely coming up because that really adds to the story to me, and it gives me a reason why that yellow is standing out so much.
Does anyone have anything else to add? So, Christopher, would you like to sum up, please?
If we take the photographer at face value, the yellow's there because he's Puck, he's the narrator, he's the comedian, he's the only person there representative from steerage. You know, he's basically there while the others are holding a persona, he's letting go. And I get the feeling that if you went to see this production, the way it's presented in this photo, he's almost the narrator, he's Puck.
Thank you. Judges, rescore, please. Christopher, you might have to put your score in, please. Oh, great. So we have got an 80, which is a silver award. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Can we have a blank screen, please? And we'll have Amber Griffin and for Craig Turner. Thank you. Turner Bullock. And Furo and for Mandarin, please. Thank you. Judges ready? Can we have a next print, please? We have an initial score of 74, which is professional standard. Steve or Furo, you do have the option of a challenge.
I gave the image 74 because of the look. Sorry, what's happened?
No, that's fine, sorry. Please carry on.
Because of the location, great location, it's well seen. And I think the composition, it's just bring attention to the church. Perhaps this is abandoned church or abandoned location. And I give it. I would love to hear from my other. It's a challenge. Sorry, I just confused.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, it's a challenge, and Esther is up there with you as well.
Okay. So for that, I give it 74, and it's very well exposed as well. So I would love to hear from my fellow judges.
Esther?
Okay, I gave this a bronze at 77. Now, it's been photographed well with intent, and technically it's been really well handled, and I feel it's absolutely worthy of a bronze award.
Would anyone else like to add anything? So, Amber, would you like to sum up? Oh, sorry, Richard, did you want to?
Okay. I look at the image closely again. It's very sharp, well exposed. It has a good composition. The only thing that's really problem here is just the photographer captured the flare. It's a bit too much. We lost the details there, but what we have is still a very good image that I believe that it's bronze. So I would love to revisit the image again and come up with me.
Thank you. Judges, restore, please. So we've got 74 professional standard. Can we have the next print, please? We have an initial score of 82, which is silver. Richard, you do have the option of a challenge.
So for me, I mean, there's some incredible craft in here. There's a lot of detail going on, but for me, this is a contemporary take on a religious icon. I stood back and really enjoyed the way that those arms form that box, and the skin tones go up to peak at her forehead, almost making the shape of a church where she has that cross on top. She is withdrawn with one arm, but the other arm is significant, and it's pointing to the heavens, which is often seen through that iconography. She appears to have no pupils, but symbolically there, with a fashion statement on her forehead, there's a third eye through what she's seeing. And I just think there's some really subtle storytelling, and for me it's a very thought about portrait with a lot of symbolism in there, and I rewarded that with an 87 silver distinction.
Thank you. And Amber, at the other end of the scale, would you like to say anything?
So I was on 78, and the reason that I was on 78, and the reason that I didn't bring it up into the silver range was because of those eyes. I couldn't quite work out, they freaked me out, and it felt like they were really kind of dead and lacking a catchlight, and I can't tell if there are no pupils or if it's just that the lack of catchlight. Also, the loss of detail down through the form at the bottom of the dress. But I am listening, and if you can explain those to me, then I think that I could come up into the silver range.
Yes.
I scored this 81 because it's an exquisite exercise in low key, but you do need to show your images to a third party because there's things that are obvious here that would have taken minimal time to make even better. There is a watch tan mark. What is that doing there? Watch tan mark on that wrist. The cross is off centre ever so slightly to the plane of the nose bridge. It would have been just simple to put guidelines in there and just see how you could have just made it perfect, because the box that our other judges mentioned is so rigid in constraint and it's so perfect. It would have been easy to continue that by having the cross exactly where it should be, exactly parallel to the... I even thought for a second it was shifted in the map, but realised no, it's actually askew slightly. So just a few guidelines and attention to detail, and you would have gone up in the other category. But I certainly think this is silver because this person knows how to print.
Okay, Richard, would you like to sum up, please?
Yeah, I think this is another take on this is almost architecture as well as a portrait, and we can look at things like, is it quite symmetrically there? I mean, that's, and we can throw that argument at classical religious architecture versus Gothic. One celebrates the irregularities of nature, and the other one, all about the graphical nature. Those eyes are definitely dead. This is not about the living world. This is representing a spiritual world, and she is blind. This is all about the third eye and that feature on her forehead. I don't need a whole lot of detail down below, because this is all about up. This is the relationship with man to God, and it's all about what's above that church she's holding with her arms. She's pointing to the sky, the light's coming down from the sky. What's below doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with this portrait.
Okay, thank you, judges. Can you rescore, please? And we have an 83 silver award. Thank you. Can we please have a blank screen, and we will swap Paul Daly in for Richard Wood, please. And can we have the next print, please? Sorry, judges, it's ready now. And we have an initial score of 79 bronze. Christopher, you do have an elective challenge. It's been a long day.
I just love the idea of front to back focus with all this flatness. Jeffrey Smart style of rapid colour, modern colours bashing up against other colours. My only regret was it wasn't square, because it's so self-contained as a square. If you just square from the base without the third-party object, the forklift or whatever it is. But I certainly thought this was silver. I just would have gone higher. It didn't fall apart in the last 20% of the image.
Paul or Amber at the other end of the scale?
My only thought as a commercial image for say a pork company or something to that effect, the crane is quite obscured by one of those containers, and so it's not as obvious as what may, if you're shooting for the client, they could set up for you, and so that was why I pulled it back from a silver to 77 bronze.
Would anyone else like to add anything? Christopher, would you like to sum up, please?
As I said, the famous Australian painter, Geoffrey Smart, this is so like his work. Take the ordinary and elevate it to something that's compressed, because the eye doesn't see compression like this. And it's beautifully focused from front to back. I just think this is an amazing piece of, if you're trying to have a piece of office decor or a brochure because you're a shipping company, this is fantastic. It would have improved if it was square, because then it would be so self-contained, it would be above reproach.
Okay, judges, please rescore. And we have an 80 silver award. Thank you very much. Can we please have a blank screen? And we will swap Rebecca out for Esther. Thank you very much. And Belinda out for... did I say Steve again? No. And is Belinda here?
Yeah, I've got an exclusion in one image. In number 18.
Far out and photos as well. Steve? Can we have Steve Hussey, please? Thank you. We should have Rebecca, Amber, Paul, Christopher and Steve. Is that right? Yeah. Thank you. Can we have the next image, please? Okay, we've got an initial score of 76, which is a bronze award. And Rebecca, would you like to challenge?
Look, this is just a bit of humour, and I think it's been really well executed. It's the photographer has lit this on purpose, rim lighting, to show this man's physique, which, you know, you can love that. It's just fun, and it's, you know, if you think this is marketing for a business, someone has shot this for a client. Is this going to sell their product? Maybe it will, because it's going to get the attention of whoever it's going to sell to. This man clearly must work in this orchard or what have you, and has been brave enough to get out there with half naked and show people, you know, his life. I think the framing is really dynamic, and the colours complement, you know, the green and the orange. They're kind of opposites a little bit, and they bring in that. There's not a huge colour range in there, but that's perfect. So I think it deserves an 80.
Okay, everyone else is pretty similar, so is there anyone would like to comment? Richard?
I appreciate everything you're saying, Rebecca, but I was on 74 for professional standard. I just thought a little bit more care about positioning of the camera, so we could take care of that, whether it's a hole in the wall or a light bulb up there or that flare's coming through. Just a slight adjustment of the angle you're pointing that camera at would have helped that. Same with the strong lines from the window running into his head. Just a bit more thought about placement for me.
Any other comments? So, Belinda, would you like to sum up, please? Rebecca.
I hear what you're saying about the little light bulb there. I think I saw it. It's bright. It also makes you look at the guy a bit more, doesn't it? Because it's right above his head. And it's all been done on purpose. This has all been, you know, this photographer has been employed to market this orchard and these people, and I think it's all been very deliberate, and I think they've done a very good job. I don't mind the lines through the head, all the lines. It's very architectural. It brings you into him and the subject. I think it's a pretty dynamic image. So I'm sitting on an 80.
Thank you. Please rescore. And we have 77, a strong bronze. Thank you. Next print, please. And we have an initial score of 76, which is a bronze. And we will accept that bronze award. Thank you. Would someone like to say something to the photographer about how they could have lifted this? Thank you.
You've got two split light background separation lights. One's green and one's purple. Yet none of your floating cards are betrayed by that. There's no highlight colour running down any of the cards that's either green or purple. So they do look much further cut out than they should be. You do need consistency and light direction from your background lights, your separation lights.
Thank you. Next print, please. We have an initial score of 76, which is a bronze award. Rebecca, you have a challenge if you'd like to take that.
This image has got a lot of punch to it.
What score?
And
Sorry, what
I'm
score?
on 80, silver. That decisive moment has been captured beautifully. It's in exactly the right moment, and again, going back to this is for a client, and so they would have had the idea in the head and the concept, and fire station and rushing and people running into stations and the fire truck rushing off and having to get where they're going very, very quickly, has really brought some storytelling to what could have just been a photo of the fire station, but it's been expertly handled as well, so it's the right time of day, and the print quality is absolutely stunning. I think this is deserved of silver.
Paul?
I gave it a 77, strong bronze, but the thing that held it back for me was that truck is going backwards to get the light trail in that direction, I believe. Maybe corrected on that. And also just the tightness to this, for something that's being set up, the tightness to the right-hand side is a bit too tight for me. And there is also another light trail on the left-hand side, which is coming from or belongs to who knows what. So, so those are things that sort of held me back on this one. But yeah, the print quality on the fire station's lovely.
Christopher?
I would actually slightly disagree with my fellow judge about the sky. The sky's too harmless. It should mirror the roadway because it's an escape for the eye. It's running out the top. So 1/3 of your photo is too bright. For lights on a fire truck and the brightness of the fire truck, wouldn't it just so much more be believable if it had had a much darker sky, even if it was dropped in, to match the roadwork, but to actually give you the feeling of a fully lit truck?
Is there anything new anyone would like to add? Or we'll go back to Rebecca for sum up.
Okay, so the fire truck's going backwards. Is it? It's coming. I actually don't really care which way it's going. I think it's the whole creative feeling of the image. I think the lights going out of the image and into that light part in the sky draws your eye into that movement and that rushing and that feeling of needing to go. I think I've got a bit of a hard sell here, so I'll just let you guys rescore.
Okay, rescore please. And we have a 76 bronze award. Next print please. Judges, I hate to hurry you along. We are running a bit behind, and if we can be concise in our comments and our scoring, that would be wonderful. Okay, we have an initial score of 82, which is a silver. We have an elective challenge from Christopher. Start off with your score, please.
I scored this 91. I thought it was fairly easily there. This is an amazing surrealistic picture of where you took the surrealist where faces are clouds, the body of a person, up to the neck, and then a cloud appears. That's where the inspirations come here. I just think she's having a conversation with a very dark figure who's casting a very big shadow beside her, and he's overbearing her. I just think the quality of printing is extraordinary, but also the intent, it's quite sinister.
Paul, would you like to go for the other end of the scale?
No, I'm not going to try and defend myself. I've obviously underdone it again in a similar style of image. So, yeah, I was on 76 and I'll listen to everybody.
Okay, Amber, you're down there as well. Would you?
I was on 78. I do really appreciate what you're saying, Christopher. I think I just struggled with the lack of detail in those dark parts, and also the real inconsistency of sort of crunchiness and blur within that headpiece. I struggled to believe all of that. So if you could explain that to me, then perhaps I could come higher.
Would anyone else like to add anything new before Christopher sums up?
I'm on 81. I think there's some sort of wolf animal head on top of her head, which just makes it a bit gruesome and a bit, ugh. But how brilliant against the delicacy of her body and her hand. It's quite beautiful.
Okay, Christopher, would you like to sum up?
The beauty about a square crop is we're not allowed the information we really want. So everything's constrained by equal length on vertical and horizontal. So we can see her shadow, it's very low. The shadow that she's arguing with or discussing with is very big and very high. It's if it's overwhelming her. Look, I just wish she didn't have a bloody tattoo. Models do nowadays, but I just wish she didn't have a tattoo. Because there I am trying to read the tattoo instead of really appreciating she's a young person, she's decorated herself. I think the texture on the headpiece, it gives me a steel wool look when I look at it. I barely noticed it because everything else is working.
Okay, judges, would you like to rescore, please? And we have an 83 silver award. Congratulations. Next print, please. We have an initial score of 74, professional standard. Steve, you do have an elective challenge if you'd like to take it. Christopher? Okay, so we'll accept that score. The print is professional standard. Thank you. Can we please have a blank screen? And we'd like Mandarin to come in for Christopher. Thank you very much. And we'll have next print, please. Thank you. We have an initial score of 76, which is a bronze, and we'll accept that. Thank you. Steve, would you like to say something about that image, please?
Yeah, it asks a lot of questions. It's quite a compelling image. I just get a little bit lost as to the purpose of the background characters, whether or not they're guiding the man or consoling him. So, yeah, and the sharpness of the person's hand. One of the background characters' hands goes from sharp to blurry, and I just find that a little bit distracting as well. Well-constructed image.
Thank you. Next print, please. Sorry, can we have a blank screen? And can we have Belinda Richardson for Amber? Thank you. And we'll have next print, please. Thank you. We have an initial score of 78, which is a bronze. Rebecca, you do have the right to challenge.
Yeah, hi, I put this on 80s in silver. The graphic nature of this is just fabulous, isn't it? Like, it's it reminds me from a distance of you know, kids, they're called car tracks, and you have remote controls. There's a name for them. No, they're like on a little track, and there's a name. I can't remember. Anyway, someone's got the name. Yes. Slot cars, that's it. That's what it reminds me of. It's fun. My kids would probably want this on their wall. The colours are very exact and real. So they it's been shot at a harsh time of the day to get those shadows just like that, and the colours are popping out. The composition, and it's brilliant having that the racetrack sort of in that top third there, and you've got a bit of breakage down the bottom. So this is showing for a shipping company potentially, sort of showing off their work, and I think it's been done quite creatively actually. So I'm on silver.
Paul?
Yeah, I was on 77, quite happy with it there. The thing that would have taken a little bit higher for me is the positioning of the straddle cranes, and sort of like, especially the two, the one coming down and on the top right there, the shadows intersect with the ones moving along. So yeah, just a bit of variation in the positioning of those straddle cranes would have taken it up a bit for me.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to add to that? Rebecca, would you like to close?
Maybe I'm on my own. I still think it's fun. I still think it's like a racetrack, and maybe that whatever you called it is overtaking. They're going to win actually, but I think it's creative and colourful. And if I was a shipping company and this was an image that I wanted for my marketing, I'd be really pleased. So well done.
Thank you, judges. Rescore, please. And we have 78 strong bronze. Thank you. Can we have next print, please? Thank you. We have an initial score of 82, silver. We do have an elective challenge from Rebecca if she would like to take it. You start with your score. Oh, sorry, I just want to say Rebecca and Mandarine, you're both on the same. You're both on the same, so would you like to challenge? No? Okay, Rebecca.
Oh no, because I'm always challenging. You go.
Okay, then I will challenge it. This is an exquisite image. You've got an absolutely stunning S-shaped composition from her profile down the beautiful sensual curve of her back. It's exquisitely printed. Placement of hands is one of the hardest things in portrait photography, and I think it is just superb. She's pondering something. Her hair is almost like a cloud if you squint, so I think it has been perfectly presented to us, even down to the attention to detail with the little wisps of hair. There's a little wisp down the nape of her neck and in front of her forehead. The light and shade is superb, and I'm definitely, I'm on 85, and I think it's well worthy of a mid to high silver, if not further.
Belinda at the other end of the scale.
Yeah, I scored this image 78, and I probably missed the mark a little bit, and I am happy to come up. I think for me, technically, it's stunning. It's beautiful. It's all the information in the blacks. Lighting is gorgeous, just as Mandarin was saying. I was just sort of missing what the commercial side of the image was, but I guess that's something that maybe I can resolve myself. But yeah, I'm listening. So yeah, talk to me.
Rebecca, would you?
I'm on 85. I'm not sure if I actually can change my score or not. If I can, I'm not 100%
Yes,
sure.
you
but
can.
I can. I think I will be probably coming up even more. The more I sit with it, the more it just speaks to me as expertly crafted. Do you know, I love the tiny little triangles that there's one at the top of her forehead where the wig comes, and then her eyebrows, and then her elbow, and then there's a tiny little one in her hand. There's one in her hand, and then there's one in her fingers. A tiny little there's just so many beautiful repetitions of shapes in there. The curvature of her spine just, gets you to sort of come round and round. You just keep looking, and this heavy wig on her head. Goodness me, imagine being like that and sitting like that and looking so beautiful and so at peace with this huge headpiece, which is super heavy, and it all just comes together beautifully. I think it's worthy of silver distinction, easy.
Would anyone like to add anything extra before Mandarin sums up, please?
Thanks for these comments, fantastic. And I might be able to answer your question, Belinda. Some of us may have photographed hair salons, hairstylists in the past, and they will often have competitions with all sorts of bizarre, weird and wonderful hairstyles that kind of like couture fashion. It's not necessarily what you'd have day to day, but it is something that will promote their brand, and you'll want to go and get your hair done. Perhaps not in that way, but it makes you stand out. So perhaps this is what that image is for commercially, and I think it is so successful because it is such a superb image. It's almost like Renaissance art in the pose, the expression, and just how it draws you in. So I kind of wish I could have gone up higher, but I'm on 85 and I compel everyone to go into the high silvers, if not higher.
Thank you, judges. Please rescore. Mandarin, could you try putting that score back in? Thank you. And we have 86, a silver distinction. Congratulations. Can we please have the next print? Thank you. We have an initial score of 79, which is a strong bronze. We also have Belinda. Would you like to challenge?
So I scored this image 82. I just felt like all the images have been expertly crafted. Then we've got a series of 9 images here, which I am assuming that the people who own this property that are trying to rent it out as a holiday destination would absolutely love to use in a brochure. I think that it shows all the elements that you would want for selling this vacation. I think the images are all done extremely well. I think they're arranged extremely well. The colours are great. Yeah, I'm just asking for a silver, nothing too crazy. So yeah, let's have a chat.
Steve at the other end.
I scored this 76. I find the large variety in sky and the sky replacements and the movement in one of the skies just all quite distracting, especially the bottom centre image where the sky's moving but there's no movement in the pool. It's a still day. I just feel like it doesn't hold together as a cohesive set. The images on their own, they're quite nice, but I don't feel like they really accentuate a key element of the house. If it's being rented out, you really want its serenity or its location or it's something unique about it. Maybe it's for real estate for selling. You want overviews of the shot, maybe, but even then it wouldn't hold together as a set for me.
Rebecca, did you want to?
I put this on 81. Who doesn't want to live there? I mean, look at that. It's epic. Real estate photography is quite... yeah, I mean, look, sometimes you can't pick the time of day, and I think this photographer has done extremely well in representing every area. And so this collection of images is not meant to graphically kind of work together. It's meant for a brochure or it's to sell, on a real estate website or what have you. And I think that people that would see that would totally want to go in there and have a look or buy it. I think it's been really well handled, actually.
Maureen?
Sorry, I'm on 81.
Mandarin, sorry.
I just wanted to add one more thing to what Steve said regarding cohesion, because individually all these images are quite superb, but I think together the main issue with the cohesion is the colour balance. We've got some of these skies, the lower left sky is quite grey, you've got cyan in the top left sky, you've almost got a magenta cloud in the lower middle one, and if more attention to detail was made with the colour within each image so that they all lined up, this would score much higher, in my opinion. I gave it 78.
Thank you. Belinda, would you sum up, please?
Okay, so look, I'm only at 82. I'm not asking for a gold here. Otherwise, I would be addressing the colour shifts, the cyans, the magentas in the whites that you're talking about, the colour balance issues, Mandarin. I think that I totally want to go and jump into this pool, Steve. I want to hang out here. I would really love to either buy this place or go on vacation here. So I think in that respect, the photographer has hit the mark. And like Rebecca and I have sort of both said that this is meant to be a brochure. They're not meant to cohesively work together on a wall as a one piece. So I think this is a story of a property, and I think that it tells it well. So yeah, come up to silver, folks. I think that's worth it.
Thank you. Judges, please rescore. And we have a 79, which is a bronze. It also means that we go into review, so we'll just get that set up for you. And the judges will choose whether it is a bronze or a silver, please. And the review score is 79 bronze. Thank you. Can we please have a blank screen? And we'd like Craig to come in for Belinda, please. Thank you. And next print, please. Thank you. We have an initial score of 79, which is a bronze. We do have an elective challenge for Craig.
Yep, I'll take it. So I scored this 84. I thought this was a really well-crafted set of characters. I think they've been positioned really well. They all have got such interest about them. The little bits of like smoke coming out of the concoction, whatever's at the end there, the guitar thing, like all of these people are characters in a play, I guess, or some kind of theatre production. And as a tool to sell tickets, I think it's really engaging and really interesting. So, yeah, I scored 84. Let's hear what you guys think.
Mandarin or Paul? Both at the other end.
I don't know if I have much more.
Mandarin?
I scored this 77. Good professional practice. It's the Spice Girls. It's kind of cool. I love the concept of it. All the characters are within that notepad that the central figure is addressing from. Where I found there could have been points of improvement was, I guess, the lighting and the over processing of that with the fog machine. You know, with there's in the lower part the legs are missing, which is not an issue with fog machines per se, but I find it very distracting in this scenario, and I'm not sure if I can come up to the next level, but there's definitely potential there.
Would anybody else like to? Rebecca?
I think this might be marketing for a costume hire place. That's where I went with it. And all of the characters in their faces are being being the person that they are dressed up as. And how fabulous and fun and crazy and a bit oversaturated and a bit mad. And I think that's really brave that the photographer has created this. All the colours are all, a bit garish and a bit out there. But that's, bringing so much interest. And I think it's been really well handled. So I'm on 80. I'll be coming up a bit more.
Thank you. Craig, would you like to sum up, please?
Yeah, okay. So fog machines, I think, we're looking at some magical beings here. There's always smoke around magical beings, so I don't have an issue with that at all. And in terms of lighting, I think it's pretty consistent across the board there. So, if you can come up to silver, that would be lovely. We have to rescore anyway. Don't make us go to review.
Thank you. Craig, you might have to put yours back in. Oh, yeah. And we've got 81 silver award. Thank you. And can we have the next print, please? Thank you. We have an initial score of 79, bronze. And Rebecca, would you like to challenge that? Steve is up there with you.
I'm sitting on 83, a really, solid silver. Probably go back to my racetrack comment here, but for me it's the graphic element of this. The entire thing's been very well composed and handled, and this is a wind turbine, I think. And for me, it's such a sense of scale. I mean, we see these wind turbines out in the environment, but do we ever see them next to vehicles like that? And to me, it's like a checkerboard. You know, you've got all these blacks and whites in the cars, but it's that sense of scale just blows my mind of how huge these are. But then there's also this sort of delicate nature. It's almost like an eyelash. I know that's really strange, but if you just kind of, skew your eyes a little bit, and there's this delicateness to that, and it's creating, it's there to create power for us, and, I think it's brilliant. I've got an 83.
Thank you, Craig, at the other end.
Okay, so I'm glad you cleared up what it was, because I was like, what is this thing? I can't make it out. It was like some kind of windsock or something, but I was right. It is wind, but just a different thing. So that's cleared that up. So I scored at 76. It's definitely deserving of an award. What really kept me down, aside from me not knowing what it was, is the crop at the bottom of the cars is really, really unfortunate, because it just doesn't complete the graphic down there, where you've got that line at the top of complete cars. Tell me why.
Steve, you're up there.
Sure, I gave this an 82. I love the blade of the wind turbine, and I just feel like the statement is it's piercing through the old technology. It's the way forward. Make room for it. I love the sense of scale. All these, carbon-emitting little insects are being, we're evolving. I think so. It's a positive picture, I think.
Thank you. Is there anything new to add? Okay, so Rebecca, would you like to sum up? Oh, sorry, Paul.
Yeah, I was on 78, so pretty much on the average, and I agree with the crop. I mean, I would have actually liked to have seen it a little bit tighter top and bottom on the crop, and just make it, a real graphic. Those cars at the bottom sort of break up the graphic for me a little bit.
Okay, Rebecca.
Yeah, I see what you're saying about the crop. I didn't even notice it in the beginning because I was so taken by the sense of scale and the full graphic of the image. I didn't even sort of look further down. I can see that they're there. There's not much that can be done about it, but for me, it doesn't pull it. Perhaps if that was, a little bit better handled down there, then, I'd be able to, probably lift it higher, to be honest. But I think we just need to reward the photographer for this well thought out piece of marketing material, wind turbines, and it's got a beautiful graphic nature, so let's see what we can do.
Okay, let's rescore, please. And we have 81, it's a silver. Congratulations. And a blank screen, please. And we'll have Richard Wood in for Steve Hussey, please. Can we have the next print, please? Okay, we've got an initial score of 81, which is silver. We do have an elective challenge from Mandarin, if you'd like to take it.
I scored this 87. I think it is a superb rendition of something quite bizarre. I believe that perhaps this is advertising a hair salon. When you first look at it, you've got a butterfly wing in the shape in her hair above. In the shadow, is it a love heart? There's so much intrigue in this, even the shadows behind her. It is beautifully printed. The tonality is superb. I'd love to hear from the other judges.
Paul?
Yeah, I knew I'd be at the low end, and I was wowed by this when I saw it initially. But the things that were holding me back, and I was on 78, so not that far off. Was the hands. The foreground hand has got a slightly weird look about the little finger. The back hand seems to be in a bit of an awkward position for me. But I do love the tonality through the face and whatnot. If you can resolve those hand issues for me, I'm willing to come up.
Craig? Thank you.
Okay, the hands are creepy hands. It's a creepy angle of her neck. Have you seen those movies where like these people crawl out and go all like this? No. That's right. Well, I try not to watch those too, but that's what it is. That's what this is. It's very angular. It is creepy. It's that kind of sinister, dark feeling again. It's that monstrous shadow. Yeah. So I scored 84, and I am happy to come up.
Okay, anything new to add? Mandarin, would you like to close it, please?
Thank you so much, Craig. This is why I love these discussions. Everyone sees images so differently. I saw the butterfly wing and the love heart, and you've seen sinister. And I think this is applaud the photographer, because you've created so much conversation with this image. And I see that point definitely. I mean, that shadow that looked a bit like a love heart, perhaps it's some sort of alien life form worm. I mean, who knows? But regardless, yes, the neck and the angle of the head, yeah, it is quite weird. And when you see shots in hairdressers that are trying to promote high-end hairdressers, you see all these weird, unusual setups. And I think it really evokes discussion clearly. It invokes intrigue, interest. It is superbly handled. As far as the hands go, I'm not overly offended by the hands. There are a couple of technical issues that could be addressed. The backhand has some interesting or strange shadows and lighting on it. Also, the forehead, there looks like it could be cleaned up a little bit. But this is probably the only reason why I didn't score it in the 90s. So I'm on 87, and I'd love to see some of the images up a little higher.
Okay, judges, rescore, please.
Scores.
Mandarin, would you mind trying your score again, please? And we have 85 silver distinction. Well done. And we'll have a blank screen, please, and we'll have whoro in for Paul, please. Thank you, Paul. Just while we're waiting, Canon is the sponsor. So NZIPP have been lucky to have Canon involved as a sponsor for a number of years, as well as category sponsor. Canon are the major sponsor of the New Zealand Photography Show, running on Friday, Saturday here in August. So thank you to Canon, and we will get on to the next image, please. So can we have the next print, please? No, this print. Just a reminder to get your scores in as quick as possible. We are running a bit behind time. And we have an initial score of 77, which is bronze, and we will accept that. Congratulations to the photographer. And have we got someone who would like to talk to the photographer about that print, please? Or I will pick Craig, thank you.
Yeah, I really like the graphic of this, the triangles and the ripples in the water. I'd like to see maybe a little bit more detail in the wake from the boat. And there are some little red objects on the bottom of this triangle of sand, and I don't know what they are, but they really drew my eye.
Thank you. Okay, next print, please. Oh, sorry, we've got digital next. Okay. Okay, we'll just have a 2-minute break while we swap over to digital if the judge doesn't need a stretch. So Canon is our sponsor for this category commercial. In the early 1930s, in a small room in Tokyo, some young entrepreneurs had a dream to create Japan's first ever 35mm camera with focal plane shutter. The success of that first prototype was the beginning of Canon's rich global history. If you'd like to know more, see Canon Incorporated's global website. Canon Oceania over the years first launched into the Australian market in 1973, and they've been innovating and inspiring communities across Oceania with an extensive range of products and services ever since. From the cameras that capture and share great stories to the printers in your offices, as well as the extensive services they offer consumers and businesses right across the region. In 1989, Canon Australia reached across the Tasman to establish Canon New Zealand. So visit Tom and the team from Canon and check out the extensive range of Canon products available in the trade show. So, are we ready to go? Can we have the judges back? Next image, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 74, which is professional standard. We do have the option of a challenge from Richard Mandarine. Okay, so we will accept that score, 74 professional standard. Next print, please. Yes, please. Craig? Yes, please. Sorry.
Well, I'll save you any of my singing, but I think this is a really interesting portrait for advertising Sweeney Todd I'm picturing, and I would love to see a little bit more drama in the lighting, a little bit more control in the highlights on the arm, to really take this to that sinister place of the musical.
Thank you. Next image. Christopher, can I get you to jump on, please, at Richard's station? Christopher, can I get you to just sign in as yourself, please, and stay on the panel? Thank you. So we have 79, a bronze award. We also have a challenge from Mandarin.
I scored this 83. I think it's a solid silver. I love the meandering way your eyes led around the image, the colour palette. It's well composed, it's well lined up, so that's why I scored it silver.
And Rebecca at the other end.
I'm actually on 76, so not too far away. Yeah, just maybe the crop, sort of that little white building at the top left with the white and red has been chopped off. It's sort of a bit hyper real for me. I was like, looks drawn, or, you know, something you'd see in a kid's playground. It's quite fascinating, and I'm definitely listening. Yeah, so.
Christopher?
It's quite amazing, the parallel, because you've actually got something that looks like a children's carpet mat where they run their little toys up and down, and yet it's only a generation away from children who are learning the road rules and going around in little trolleys. So I think it's a very clever little pattern.
Mandarin, would you like to sum up, please?
Thanks for those comments. I think with regards to the cropping at the top, that's an interesting comment, and I agree where you're going with that. If it was cropped at the top, you'd probably need to balance it out with cropping at the bottom, and I feel that it'd be too close to the little road. So I feel that is not something so major that it should go below silver. It's got a real cartoony quality. I love the way the colours are pop. It's handled very well, so I'd love to see it as a silver.
Thank you. Judges, rescore, please. And we have got 82 silver award. Congratulations. And can we have the next print, please? Thank you. We've got 72, professional standard. We'll accept that. Would somebody like to offer something for the photographer, please? Thank you.
Sorry. The expression of the subject is very well captured. However, I think to improve the image, the hand is close to the camera and it's bright and a bit blur, and it's just caused distraction, perhaps different posing.
Thank you. Next print, please. Thank you. We've got 79 bronze. We also have an elective challenge from Craig.
I scored this 88. I thought that the composition, the symmetry here, it's absolutely lined up with such precision. It's perfectly done. I love all the reflections on the ceiling and how that's kind of rendered with the depth of field and the fall off to the end. And then just heading down that hallway, you've got that character there that's kind of the only kind of bit of motion visible in the image amongst all of this graphic and static the nature of the lines and the patterns.
Thank you. And we've got Furo at the other end.
Sorry, I shouldn't turn it on. I did find this image has such a three-dimensional feeling to it. My eyes just drawn to the center of the image, which is the movement of the person there. But for me, compositionally, it's a bit off because the two block is in front of the image is too heavy and just stuck my eyes to just travel between two them, and so hard for me to see all the details in the center of the image. But I think I'm a bit shy and I really want to come up, but if you explain those to me.
Yes.
Craig and I are sitting next to each other and 11 points apart. I'm on 77. The graphic nature is fabulous, but the black figure that's moving, there's something just a bit off about it. I want to just love it, and it's showing office movement, and everyone else is just sitting so static. And I get that, I get where that's going, but it just seems really heavy. Maybe if they had something different if they were dressed differently, and you could see some sort of detail even in the movement, but there isn't any. It really is just a really dark, blurry figure that's just a bit unresolved for me. But I'm listening.
Christopher?
I think Farou's hit it on the head. The two barber poles, the pillions either side of that, should be a deeper zone so that they're there and they have some tonal value, but they're not dominant. And there's a person seated that's really not part of this. They're in grey, they're slightly overweight, they have nothing to do with the composition. Wouldn't it be better the person walking in solitary down this tube?
Anything new to add? Craig, can you sum up for us, please?
Sure. I'm probably pushing it a little bit on this one, but for me, the two-dimensionality of it makes it more graphic, which I quite enjoy. I'm thinking about the extra person and the chair, and without those I would probably have gone even higher, probably into the 90s. And I feel that figure is dark, but it is very central, and it gives another quality of diagonal lines that really draw you in. So for those reasons I like it, and that's why I scored it where I did.
Thank you. Please rescore. And we have 82 silver. Thank you very much. And can we have the next print, please? And we've got an initial score of 74, professional standard. And we'll accept that. Can I have somebody to speak to the photographer, please? Yep. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, I scored this a 74, right on the average. I think that it's very strong compositionally. I think perhaps a different time of day, so you didn't get that reflection in the window there, or maybe even using a polarizing filter or something to tone it down would really lift this.
Thank you. Can we please have Belinda Richards in for Rebecca? And can we have Amber in for Craig, please? Is that what you said? How are the other judges doing? Are you guys okay? Who are we missing? Did Belinda just come in? Okay, and we'll have the next print, please. Trace. And we have 81 silver. Mandarin, would you like to challenge?
I would love to. I gave this a gold, 92. I think it's an absolutely exquisite representation of minimalist architecture. The tonal palette is absolutely superb. We've got shape repeating shape, the countertops on the left image mimicking the highlights of the lights on the right. I'd love to hear from others because it's just so beautifully put together.
How about Amber?
So I was right down on the other end at a 74, a high professional standard. I really love the very first image. I think that it's a beautiful graphic composition. And then I just feel so let down by the second. I don't understand why that second image is there. It seems like it's a really unfinished home. Maybe that's like a gap for a flat screen TV, I think. I feel like the whole series is so let down by that second image. So perhaps if you could explain that to me, as well as the difference in the horizon line of where the wall meets the floor between image 2 and 4. I need that explained to bring it into an awards range.
Would anyone else like to add anything? Christopher?
It should be a vertical, because then it could progress more. You could shuffle the deck so the dark is weighted at the very bottom. You've given it, by making it horizontal, you've given them all equal credence, so immediately one of the judges notice the floor's in a different space, different place. So I think it's a vertical, but I think each photo is an exceptional interpretation of the aesthetic that an Airbnb place would have, where there's absolutely bare, neutral input. It's shaker minimalism. It's the worst side of architecture, but the best sort for Airbnb, because each night a different person comes in there and sees it differently. It's soulless, but it's beautifully executed.
Thank you, Furo.
for me is the thing is let me down to come to the silver range is exactly what Amber said. For me, there is no cohesive between all of the frames. Each frame has, and each frame is very strong in composition by itself, but when it comes together, they lose the cohesiveness. And especially the left image is kitchen, but I'm not really convinced that it's sellable kitchen for me, because we are in a commercial category as well. We want to see this in a catalog is actually sellable to me as well, or any client.
What was your score, please?
I give it 78. I'm too close, and yeah.
Any more to add? Mandarin, would you like to sum up, please?
Great comments. Interesting about the vertical composition. I take that on board. I actually love the horizontal, and to address the comments about the different levels where the floor is in each of the elements. I see that as they're different rooms, so it doesn't break down the cohesiveness of the four images. I think they're treated in a very similar way with the tonality. So that addresses that issue for me. With the TV, that's a really good point. And sometimes when you see new homes, they have those little spots vacant where there's no TV, so that the buyer can imagine putting their own TV or their own piece of furniture into that space and how it would look. So I actually find that adds to the composition rather than detracts from it. So I'm very comfortable sitting on my 92 as a gold, and I'd love to see people come up if they feel appropriate.
Okay, judges, I'm not sure if you can get your scores and we might have a technical problem. Can you try, please? Okay, we have an 83 silver. Thank you. I just can't accept that. I've just asked for some technical help. For some reason we've come in here, I can't accept it. Sorry, we've just got a slight technical challenge.
So just to let the audience know, we have some wonderful judges here from Australia and New Zealand judging this category. We have the wonderful Chris Anderson here, an accredited professional international photographer. Oh, sorry. I just took my glasses off. No.
But that's okay, because we can move on to the next one. So
Oh,
it's all good.
okay.
Sweet.
Thank you. Yeah.
Chris is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all I can say is our judges are even better. Okay, so next print, please, Tracy. And we have 88 silver distinction. Sorry, Furu, would you like to challenge?
Of course. This is such a striking image.
Score, please.
Gave it
Thank you.
93, gold range. And I wish I gave it even higher because it has such an excellent composition. It has three-dimensional. You can just feel the whole level of the building or complex from the top to the bottom, and every single element in this image, it's precise, it's superior not post-production, it's really treatment to it. And there is nothing wrong with this image. It's just sellable for any property, for any complex, for any building company. And definitely is gold range.
Amber, would you like to answer that?
So I gave this a strong silver at 84. I really hear what you are saying with those comments, Faru, and I agree, this is a beautiful piece of art. I guess my question is, what has the photographer brought to this image that the architect didn't already kind of have there? If you can explain to me sort of, I guess, what the photographer has kind of done to bring this up into a higher awards range.
Thank you, Christopher.
When I undertook mechanical drawing in 1973, the one thing that fooled me, which I think fools everyone, how do you visualise something as it'll be seen from directly above? You don't. That's why I was hopeless at 5/4 work, because how do you visualise anything upside down? That's just simply upside down. I think this is brilliantly captured by the photographer. Why? Because like a snakes and ladders, it moves around and then you realise you're on the wrong perspective plane to the one you started off. So somehow using very soft lighting, overcast lighting, they've allowed your eye to run around because of just simple shades of grey. And that's brilliant. And also, let's face it, with aerials, we're looking for patterns. This is chaos. This is brilliant chaos.
Christopher, your score, please.
My score was 88. I feel a bit flimsy about that. I think it should be in the 90s.
Okay, Belinda.
Yeah, I scored this 88 as well, and yes, as soon as I sat back down, I was like, oh God, I should have done gold. Shouldn't have been so scared. So thanks for challenging that, Faru. Just to answer your question, I'm going to help you out here, Faru, in what the photographer has actually brought to this, what the architect hasn't, didn't already do. They've framed the image. They've used lighting to not only compress but also add depth at the same time. It's hyper real. The editing is superb. They've found the shapes in this building to create this geometric image that is just stunning and stands as a work of art without it even being like a commercial image. You could just put this on your wall and look at it all day. There's so many details, like the little bike railings down there repeating. There's just little details everywhere and you just keep picking it up as you go through. So I'm coming right up there with you, Faru.
Mandarin?
This is a superb Tetris jigsaw puzzle. I absolutely love this and I wanted to put it in the 90s. And if you can explain one element for me, I will absolutely. I scored at 88 and the only reason I didn't go into the 90s was because of the beautiful graphic nature of it. I wanted to not see all the reflections that are in the windows, especially that window on the lower left. I would have felt that if those shadows or the highlights, the reflections had have been toned down, I would have been well into the 90s. But if you can address that, I will go up.
Okay. I think Amber Belinda answered your question, but to add to it, it's really complicated, complex. There are lots of details there. And I think the treatment, the time of the day, the delivering it, all details in a very cartoonistic, a very precise, and it's such a subtle color palette. That's the power of the photographer. For the reflection of the window, I didn't see them till you mentioned that. And I think, to be honest, I think it's not really big issue, because I think if reflection for me is, I don't mind it, but maybe I should go higher to gold with distinction. You mentioned that. So maybe that's the one. I didn't go to gold distinction. But guys, it's such a exceptional visual communication. It might be drone photography, but I've never seen anything like this. So innovation, post-production, everything talk about gold range, or maybe higher.
Thank you. Would you like to rescore, please? $93, we've got a gold. Well done, judges. And can we please have the next print? We've got an initial score of 80, silver, and we will accept that. Congratulations. Can I please have a comment for the photographer? Yes, please.
I scored this image 78. Congratulations to the photographer on your silver award. I would have gone higher with this image. Just that bottom part there that's a little bit awkward, just bring up the crop, that would have helped. And perhaps, I think, I love it, I'm loving the shapes in this image. It's working really well, but I feel like the lighting, at different time of the day, perhaps it's just a little bit distracting with all the different shadows all over the place. But yeah, keep at it, it's good.
Thank you. Can we have the next print, please? We have an initial score of 81, which is silver, and we will accept that. Congratulations to the photographer. Can I please have a comment? Chris, thank you.
You've taken house or home creation in the suburbs to another level. How clever are you? From back here, you'd think that was the top of a high-rise building until you get in closer. It's a cement pour. But the vanishing point, it just looks like the Star Wars start. And especially with that object coming in from the top, if you just gave us the top of that object, it just looks sinister. The only thing that distracted me was there was just too many humans in it. It just needs a solitary person in there.
Thank you. Can we have the next image, please? And we have 81 Silver Award. Mandarin, you can do an elective challenge if you'd like.
I will. I've scored at 88, a silver distinction. It's a bit of a Where's Wally and organised chaos. What we've got is a really cool image that you can wander around and see all the little different elements. It's beautifully processed, the colour palette. We've got all things all over the place except for what is important, which is where they're laying all the cement. It's absolutely perfect. There's no converging parallels, and then your eye just wanders around the image. So I'd love to hear from others about it.
Who else would like to speak?
Mandarin, I believe that the chaos very well captured. However, I feel like the image is divided to three parts. The right side is really strong and there is something happen by itself, and the left side we have like a abstract image of the building or perhaps the pool or anything, and we have the top side. Each of them separately is strong and talk, and it's like I feel like I'm going to lose the point of interest. What should I actually look at? But I think I gave it 77, and I really want to come up if you address these issues.
Belinda, you're up in silver. Would you like to?
Yeah, sure. I scored this 83, so I'm up there almost with you there, Mandarin. I rewarded this image for the fact that when I went up to it, all I want to do is just keep spending time looking at what everybody's doing on the ground there. Like Mandarin said, it's a bit of a Where's Wally kind of image, and I just found that aspect of it like really fascinating. And I can see this like big on the office wall that this construction company owns, and spending time, really, really looking through it. So I don't mind that my eyes keep moving around the image and don't particularly land on anything in particular. I love that I just want to keep going in closer and closer. So yeah, I could kind of come up a little bit.
Anything new to add? Amber?
Mandarin, I was on 77, and I enjoy the Where's Wally kind of vibe that I get from this as well. I think the thing that kept me down in the bronze range was I feel like the point of view of the, I'm assuming, drone is kind of off. It's like I want it to be more high above, where I feel like the hero of the image is the big square where the concrete is halfway through being poured. and I feel like there's so much activity going on up here, and the bottom. I don't know how necessary the bottom whole third of the image is, although I do like the way the square crop is echoed in the concrete square. So if you could maybe explain the point of view to me, then I think I could come up.
Okay, well, I'm not a construction worker, so I'm going to have to try hard to do that. I'll get to that, but with all the separate thirds that you were talking about, Faru, I think that is the point of the image. When you walk past a construction site in the street, nothing seems organised. It is organised chaos. It's all over the place, and yet every thing has their spot, their location. So while it looks like a mess to us, they all know where they're supposed to be. You've got all the little cars parked where they're supposed to be, the concrete mixes. It is what it is, and that is what we're looking at. We're actually invited to go into their world from a bird's eye view. With what you were suggesting about the bottom third not being necessary. Yes, you could say that you could crop off that bottom third, but I actually love the contrasting colour palette of that pale blue. I think it actually pops the image, and it actually ties in with some of these little blue bits that are further up in the image. So the colour palette wise, it all ties in. Compositionally, it's beautiful, and the longer I look at it, the more I enjoy it. So I was on 88, and the more I look at it, the more I think I should have gone up a little higher, but I'd love to see what other judges think and maybe lift it a little bit. Silver distinction.
Okay, thank you. Rescore, please. And we have an 84 Strong Silver Award. Thank you. Can we please have a judge change? Can we have Rebecca in for Christopher, please? Should we do the next print while you work it out? Okay, we'll bring Craig in for photo, please. Thank you. We have to have our token boy. We do try to keep the panel varied, so thank you for pointing that out to us. And we will have the next print, please, Tracy. And we have an initial score of 76, which is a bronze award. We do have an elective challenge from Rebecca, if you would like to take that.
So I scored this an 80 in the silver range, and I just think that it's really bold and really strong, and it's been, I mean, this is actually probably quite hard to photograph. No reflections, there'll be glass on the front there, and it's been really well handled, and just that sort of green and white and black just pops out. And you're someone that owns this business of a watch, and you want to give it you want to show it off. And I think this shows it off. The tradie wording kind of makes me think of, perhaps builders and sparkies and what have you are going to wear this. Looks a bit polished probably for them, but it'll be gritty enough, and I'm sure they'll enjoy wearing it. I think it deserves in that silver range for the craftsmanship of it all, and I that angle that it sits on, and then you've got the arms of the clock there. I think it just works really well. So well done.
And then can we hear from Belinda at the other end, please?
Yeah, I scored this image 73, and I'm quite happy with it sitting in that range, in the 76 range where it landed. There's a couple of issues, technical issues. There's a little bit of haloing down on the right-hand side that needs to be looked at in post-production. I would also consider the fall off on the band is a little bit distracting, and possibly focus stacking or using a different lens choice or something like that. I'm not a commercial photographer, but I feel like that should be in focus, and it would do the image much more justice. So perhaps if you can address those issues for me.
Mandarin?
Yeah, and to add to what Belinda said, which I agree with, which is why I was on 78 and didn't go higher, because it is a very solid image. It looks like the end of the watch band is at the top of the image, and because there's no detail in the shadows there, it is just like a horizontal line, so it's not really adding to the image of this amazing watch to wear.
Thank you. Anything extra to add? We'll have Rebecca. Can you close that, please?
Yeah, I see what you're saying about the little bit of halo down there in the bottom right. For me, I didn't even notice it, because all I noticed was that powerful central part of the watch, and the bit that needs to be showed off the most, which is beautifully sharp and well handled, and the correct colours. The top strap, again, I didn't mind that it was out of focus, I think, because it's not really the part of the image that, it's not a bit of the watch that you sort of really care to see. I think, that it's in focus where it needs to be. I'm probably a little bit out on a limb here, but yeah, let's see.
Let's rescore, please. And we have a 76 bronze. Congratulations. Can I just remind the judges to not repeat anything that's been said before, and to keep it succinct? We are running quite a lot over time, so thank you. And can we have the next image, please? We have a score of 75 bronze, and we will accept that. And can I have a comment from one of the judges, please? Yes, please.
Congratulations on the Bronze Award. I think that this it's a really beautiful location to have captured, but the photographer just needs to be very aware of the lighting conditions to make sure that they're showing off the subject in the best way possible.
Thank you. Having just complained about the time, I just want to say you guys are amazing, and it's been a friggin' long day, and let's have the next print, please. And we have an initial score of 81, which is a silver. And we have an elective challenge, probably Amber. Yep.
Cool. I gave this an 86. This image has me quite confused in a really good way. It reminds me very much of a Rubik's Cube, and I'm as confused about what it really is as I would be if I were trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. So for that, I wanted to really reward it. Please tell me, no, don't tell me any negatives. Just come up.
Okay, we've got Craig Mandarin. Cool.
Absolutely perfect. It's Chez Mondrian from a building perspective. I scored at 78, and I really wanted to come up because it's beautiful when you look at it from afar. When you go up, I noticed a little cookie in one of the balcony or window sections, but I couldn't identify what I was looking at. It looks like there's some fairy lights, but there's something in the lower left, and I'm just not sure what it is. Also, the digital noise is creating some artefacts that look like banding in the sky. So for that reason, I kept it at 78.
I scored this 85, so I'm right up there with you, Amber. And I love the geometric nature of this. To sort of, I think that little cookie is the lights, and that's why I went so high with this. I see the problems that you've noticed, the noise. It's been pushed a little far in post-processing, but I see this as one of those buildings in Melbourne that nobody lives in anymore, because and that those lights there are that's the indicator that there is sign of life. Like the ones in Docklands and stuff like that, that during COVID everybody evacuated out of, and they're all empty now. And I just feel like that little cookie that's what that is. And I mean, even without that, this is, I love the geometric nature of this. It's the colour palette's beautiful.
Anything else to add before Amber sums up?
I don't think I need to say much more. I think that Belinda has summed it up very well. Please come up. Go the Rubik's Cube.
Please score. And we have an 84, very strong silver. Thank you very much. Can we please bring Christopher Ian in for Rebecca Kempton, please? Thank you, Rebecca. It's Christopher. And next print, please. And we have an initial score of 76, which is a bronze. And Craig? Would you?
Okay, so I scored this 86. I remember this from the run-through and was really looking forward to seeing it up close. And I feel like this is it's another creepy image. I think you would not really want her to be your dentist. But at the same time, I feel like she's talking to somebody in this chair that's not actually there. And I really enjoy that story and that play on her kind of looking into this empty space and leaning it over this chair in a kind of ominous way, and that shadow behind her kind of following her behind. So yeah, I thought this was quite a clever bit of storytelling. There are technical flaws, which I know you're going to point out to me, and I have scored it accordingly to those. So yeah, I think I think there's definitely some good storytelling in this, which elevates it beyond a bronze for me.
Okay, Rebecca or Belinda? The other end of the scale.
It's Chris.
Oh, shoot.
A stylist would get in there and fix the hair. That's a real cardinal sin. Unless you're trying to actually infer some sort of activity or madness with hair over the face, that's just inexcusable. But it almost looks like a low-res file, which is disappointing.
Does anyone else have any other comments to add?
Craig, I think it's a fabulous subject. It's just all the technical flaws that are really holding me out of the awards range. So I'm not going to go into what they are because I think we can all see them. But if you can talk us around some of those in a positive light, then maybe we could come up.
Okay. So, hair. Well, she's kind of guarded over her face. The hair's covering her face. I think that goes with this character. I think the quality of the file and the graininess of it is a very intentional, gritty, grungy edit on this image, which I think is also backed up by the contrast. Yeah, I think for me, those are the main two technical issues that I see with this. And I think the narrative in this kind of outweighs that. So yeah, I'm way out on a limb, but yeah, if you can find it in your hearts to give this creepy dentist lady a couple of extra points, that will be wonderful.
Okay, if you'd like to rescore, judges. And we have 77 bronze. Chris, can I get you to sign in as yourself, please? Something's not quite right there. We'll see if it comes in next time. Can we have the next print, please? Didn't change, eh? I'll see what comes in this time. I'll just put it in here. I just Vicky. We have an initial score of 81, which is a silver. And we will accept that silver award. Thank you very much. Christopher, would you like to speak to the photographer about that?
I don't want to denigrate the photo, but I'd say this is yet another of one of those mini golf photos where you get up from this distance and think it's an aerial of something else, and when you get up there you realise exactly what you're looking at. But when I got up and looked at this one, because she only had shades of black to play with, I reckon it's a brilliant job, because colours recede and advance, but with shades of grey you're really working to give us 3D. There's actually moments when you look at this and if it wasn't for a guardrail you wonder if you're looking at the side of a building or above from the building. So yes, quite an achievement. It's just a little bit dull in contrast, that's all.
Thank you. Can we have the next print, please? And we have an initial score of 78, a bronze award. Christopher, we do have a challenge.
This, for the people behind, this is a house being moved or a prefab being moved, and so it's the whole transition.
Score, please.
I scored it 85 because I thought you've brought all these auxiliary lights to the show to paint with light as the trip takes place, and I just think that's brilliant. You know, that corner photo where there's lights under the houses, you're just very clever use of painting with light, and I just thought that was magic. Plus, it's great storytelling, and printing is beautiful, almost dangerously beautiful.
Amber or Craig?
Yep. I scored this 74. I think there are some really, really strong images in here, but there's a lot of darkness and a lot of images that really don't add anything to this story. I don't think we need 16 in this panel to get the point across. So yeah, I'm listening, but I feel pretty comfortable unless you convince me why all those extra images are there.
Mandarin?
And I think following on from what Craig said, as cool as this is as a series, all the images seem to be from roughly the same distance. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of the emotion, the personality of the players within it. So maybe, a couple of close-ups of, what they were doing to see their expressions.
Sorry, I'm not going to repeat anything. I just wanted to also add that when you're creating a a grid like this, I think it's really important the way that the different images compositionally relate to each other, and I don't see like a flow effect in this grid.
Christopher, would you like to sum up?
Well, again,
please?
I'll say that the person who executed this has brought extra lighting along and painted with light. To me, it just looks like a contact sheet of a night out in the house move. That's why they probably like a contact sheet. I'd love to see a couple crosses through some of those pictures so they didn't make the final cut. But I still think there's enough photos here to bring it into silver for sure. There's at least 3/4 of them are easily good enough to come in because you're dealing with very dangerous light. It's just no light at all. So you've added the light by bringing some lights along and painting. It's brilliant.
Please rescore, judges. Christopher, could you put your score back in, please? Thank you. And we have 78 bronze award. And can we have the next image, please? And we have an initial score of 73, which is professional standard. Christopher, would you like to challenge that? Okay, so we'll accept that. 73 professional standard. Can I have a comment, please, for the photographer on how they could improve? Mandarin?
A stunning home. I compel the photographer to revisit the image. If they can crop the bottom off, it will make it stronger visually, as well as more attention to those highlights that are absolutely blown out, and maybe add a little bit more tonality to the sky will give you a much more dramatic image.
Thank you. Can we have the next image, please? Sorry, we have an initial score of 73, professional standard. Mandarin, would you? Okay, we'll accept that. Can I have a comment for the photographer, please? Yes, please.
This is a really cool image. I think that you could actually really improve it if perhaps it was a little bit more compelling to convey what's happening. So bring a bit more drama to the sky, perhaps a bit more vignetting in that top left to bring a tone more in keeping with the lower right-hand side of the image, and perhaps work on maybe a different crop so that we're looking a little bit more closer to the action.
Thank you. Can we have the next image, please? And we have an initial score of 80, which is silver. And we will accept that. Thank you. Congratulations. Can I please have some advice for our photographer? Thank you, Christopher.
Beautifully executed. The only thing that's distracting about this aerial is that the verticals seem to bend. While everything else is beautifully structured and balanced and has that, as I say, the mini golf effect, the verticals tell you they're the verticals because they're bending as they come towards us. So whether that was intentional or not, it doesn't seem to strike the same success in a photographic competition.
Thank you. Can we have the next image, please? And we have an initial score of 73, which is professional standard. Mandarin. So we will accept that. 73 professional standard. Can I have a comment for... Yes, please. Thank you.
Beautiful mother and child image. Points of improvement that I would really feel would lift it up into a solid silver would be to really work on the technical details. So add a little bit more detail in the highlights. Perhaps be aware of jewellery where you can see the ring or maybe it's a watch on her hand underneath the child's bottom, and also placement of the hands. There is also a tiny bit of movement in the baby's hand, which is a little bit distracting, but beautiful expression on the child's face. So congratulations.
Thank you, judges. So that's the end of the category. I'd like to thank Canon for sponsoring this category. I'd like to thank our amazing judges who have done a brilliant job and stuck with us, the entrants who have put themselves on the line, and our audience for supporting us. So thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow. Awesome. Can the judges just hold on? I suspect there will be, finals judging. Thank you.
So is there a category judge on this one? A category judge of the commercial tonight?
Michelle's